Hi guys, welcome back. Well, a lot of people these days go, they resort to, I wouldn't say resort to, but they use the social networking as a great place to meet people. Particularly, we're talking about Match.com is a really popular one. So bringing in now an internet law attorney, Erik Syverson, because he's in our LA bureau. Erik, how are you today, first of all?
I'm terrific. Thank you for having me.
Very good to have you. All right, Erik, why don't you brief us on the background on this case that we're talking about, where this woman went out, she met a guy on Match.com, and by the second date, she claims that she was sexually assaulted by this guy she met on Match.com, and now she was suing Match.com because they didn't do the background check on having this guy listed, but yet Match.com is saying, hey, in our article, in our contract, if you will, paragraph 7, it says right there, kind of enter at your own risk, and it's up to you to figure out who these people are. Take it away.
Well, that's correct. Match.com, the way I see it, has the law on their side in this case. Most internet companies, internet websites, social networks are protected from liability for the bad acts of their users. So unfortunately, in this case, there was an assault. However, Match.com doesn't necessarily have any liability here. There's a federal statute called the Communications Decency Act, and what that essentially says is that if an internet service provider or website such as Match.com kind of takes a hands-off approach and doesn't get involved in the Match.com instance of actually matching people up, on Match.com it's up to the users to figure out who they want to go out with. And that's not much different than the real world. You could go to a singles club and the person you pick might not necessarily be a good person to go out with.
Yeah, so in the end, you don't think that this woman, and of course we hate that anyone is sexually assaulted, but in this case you don't think she's going to have a legal leg to stand on?
I don't believe so, no. Again, going back to the Communications Decency Act and some other legal principles, to me it doesn't strike me as a good case. That being said, of course, it's a horrible incident, but horrible incidents, unfortunately, sometimes occur in the world of dating.
Before I ask you if you think Match.com should change policy on any level, I want to know, do you know where that second date took place?
I do not, no.
I don't either. It was a question and by the way, I have sitting here, my panelists with me is Jim Pinkerton and Ellis Hennigan, so if you hear any male voices, it's not me, just kind of throwing my voice in some strange way. Actually, they're here. But, so they may jump in. But, so Erik, because I was having that conversation with my cousin, who is, I think, 25 or 26, and, you know, she's of that age where you go on the social networking sites as well. And I was telling her, of course, I was like the big sister, be careful, da-da-da-da-da-da. So she's very aware. She follows all the steps, making sure she always meets in public, far, far away from where she lives. Someone always knows where they're going, everything, all those details that you need to cover. And so I was giving her the details of this case that we're talking about, and the question she asked, which I thought was very telling and very important, she said, well, where did the second date take place? Because, you know, because I don't know, and where, do you know where the assault took place, Erik?
I do not, but from a legal perspective and for Match.com, Match.com plays no role in figuring out where their users go out on dates.
Right.
Again, Match.com is essentially a virtual singles bar. So if you walk into a singles bar and hit it off with someone and say, hey, let's meet up next week at place X, that's really on you.
The person. I think that's what my cousin, her question was intimating. She said in a wide chat with a panelist here, Erik, my cousin was just saying, again, anybody would sympathize for anyone being attacked in any way. But I think that was sort of her point. You know, where are you going on your second date? It doesn't matter you're meeting somebody on the internet. You have to always be careful. So the onus is on the person, regardless of how you met, to try to be as safe as possible.